No, you should not do sit-ups to strengthen your core. I'm Maren, and this is Q&A with Heart and Soul Dance. I was in a discussion with one of my clients last week after our Q&A session, and she said, I'm doing sit-ups to strengthen my core. And I told her, no, don't do that. We have 29 core muscles, and only 2 of those are used in a sit-up. So when we're doing sit-ups, we're not actually helping our core. We are, but only 2 of the 29 muscles. So when we do a sit-up, it's spinal flexion, right? And it's just one way that we use our core muscles. So for the core, for the spine and the core to have integrity, we have to move in all our directions. And as dancers, that's really important to us, right? All those different planes of movements and directions. We need balanced stability in our trunk, especially when our limbs are moving, right? So we want to have all of that going on. And a sit-up only gives us one piece of that. When we have a healthy core, healthy spine, and our core is engaged, we have an optimal range of motion, and that uses all of those muscles evenly and coordinated, right? In a coordinated way. So that's as we're balancing, as we're standing still, as we're moving, and obviously moving and balancing are pretty important to dancers. So most people sit all day. And think about when we're sitting, we're already in a flexed position. That flexion that we get from a sitting, we're already in that position. So doing more is not what we need to really strengthen our core and improve our balance and, our movement ability. So what is it that I recommend? There are lots of core strengthening exercises out there. As a dancer, I tend to prefer ones that will stabilize, that require me to stabilize my core as I'm doing them. What that does is it helps me with the proprioception that we were talking about last week. If you missed that, you can always click right here. I'd like to go over some additional exercises with you today. So let's get you up and moving and doing some more exercises.
Okay, so let's get started with some standing exercises. The easiest way to do this is simply balance exercises, right? So standing with your core engaged, because that's what we're working, right? And if I start lifting my foot off the ground, now I'm not only working my proprioception, but I'm also working my core and engaging it. I'm also working my thighs and all kinds of other great things. You can always add a band on around your thighs if you want some extra thigh work. But right now I'm thinking about my core. So I'll do one side and then I'll do the other side, right? So working on the balance piece, now all of this is getting engaged forward and back, side to side, trying to stabilize me as I'm doing it. If you're not comfortable with that, grab a chair and just put your hand on the chair. So if you have just a touch point, it's like if I'm standing here and I'm just touching my foot off to the side, I'm still balancing over my foot. I just have a touch point. So instead of holding on to the chair, what you do is just kind of place your hand on it, and then you can work raising your legs. You can also do forward raises, right? And you can do back raises. Okay? From there, you can add releve. So from here, I'm just going up in releve and coming back down. This is a great calf exercise, but it also is a core stability exercise so that you're having to engage your core. What I think about most is putting my attention on where I'm wanting to work, right? So if I'm doing this casually and I'm not thinking about it, I won't get as much out of it. And they've done studies on this to prove that. So while I'm doing this exercise, I'm actually thinking about engaging my core and stabilizing myself and feeling where I am in space and where I'm falling off from it, okay? So those are two standing exercises you can do. We'll be right back down on the mat. Plank and side plank are two of the best exercises for stabilizing your core. They also work all kinds of other exercises. So plank, basic plank. You want to think about being on your elbows. Oh, getting your toes on the mat, it's a little bit easier, but we're going to do one with your toes off the mat. And ideally, you want to have not your butt up in the air and not hanging down, right? That's bad for your back. So you're going to be pulling your core muscles up and in as you're holding yourself on your elbows. Okay? So that's your basic plank. Side plank is going to be the same thing, except you can either stack your feet this direction, or as you get more confident and your core gets stronger, you can stack your feet on top of each other. I'm not as good at that one. Right? And there are more advanced versions of both of these, and I did want to talk about one of those. It's called saw. So on saw, I'm going to take my toes off of my mat. I'm going to make myself move my mat up a little bit. And I'm going to move myself back and forth. And as I said, I like core stabilizing exercises. It's going to really get me to engage my core as I move my feet back and forth. Remember, this is an advanced version of this exercise, so if you're not up to it, don't add it on. I am wearing socks, and I'm doing it on purpose so that I can slide my feet back and forth using my socks. If I did not have socks on, I couldn't do that. Okay, so that's a more advanced version of that exercise. Let's look at another exercise that you can do down on your mat. And it's actually on all fours. So you're going to stabilize yourself, one arm, one leg, right? So from here, I want a flat back. I don't want it arched down. I don't want it arched up. So it's going to be a flat back like a tabletop. And then I'm going to think about one arm and opposite leg. And then I can bring them down, arm and opposite leg. So as you get comfortable with it, again, remember that you're thinking about where you're working. We're working our core and our stabilization. So I don't want to just send all my attention and my energy into where my arm and my leg are going. I want to keep it in my core, because otherwise what's going to happen is I'll throw myself off balance, right? So I'm going to keep working on where my energy is, which is in my core. One arm, one leg, opposite arm, opposite leg. Okay. All right. One more exercise in this tabletop position. Kind of my favorite, although it's a little challenging. So from here, I'm going to actually curl my toes under, and I'm going to pull my knees off the ground about 2 to 3 inches. They don't have to be up very far, enough so that it's challenging for you. And then from here, yes, we're adding on. We're going to tap the opposite shoulder with our hand. So we're going to take the hand off and tap. And you'll notice I'm moving back and forth a little bit. I'm trying to stabilize my core to move as little as possible, keeping those knees off the ground. And I'm going to shift and tap and shift and tap, okay? From here, you'll notice that as you're doing it, your core will be engaged. Most of these exercises probably won't get you to that, oh my gosh, my abs are so sore type of feeling. And they're all super effective.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully those exercises were helpful. If you have any questions, as usual, let us know. Who knows? Maybe you'll be featured on next week's episode of Q&A with Heart and Soul Dance. See you on the dance floor.